We are live. I am here once again with DM Blackwall, who has graciously given us some of his time this evening to discuss the new game, Dropship. I'm super excited about this. Now, I was able to read through Horde Wars and prepare some questions, and sort of we had that sort of back and forth conversation. I don't have a copy of Dropship because it's not available yet. So I am.
We looked a little at it though together, I think.
Yeah. So we'll kind of be a little bit more back and forthy. I think we'll be a little. I'll have to be a lot more considerate, I think, with the types of questions that I'm asking, because I'm gonna. Well, regardless of question asking and how I'm going to do this. Hello, everyone. Hello, Ultra American TTRPGer. Hello, BGD. Hello, Wibs. Spin. Apologies. I'll get it right one day. Thank you all for being here. Mike, hello. Thank you for being here. So we're going to start talking about Dropship.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Dropship. Is there a place that you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty excited about it. We're working on we're working on a game. We should have it out roughly June, probably May of next year. Our goal is to have it up for pre-order at the beginning of April. But that'll be dependent on everyone being on time. Artists, printing companies with quotes, so on. If everybody's on time, that's the goal. Then we should have a 1 or 2 month period of pre-orders, during which if enough people pre-order, so basically the idea is we'll get a quote for a high quality soft cover like we currently sell in the US for Horde Wars. And we will be offering a pre-order using that quote's number. As a company we worked with before, we've done 4 print runs with them, I think, at least 3. And they do a good job. They're in our state. Anyway, we get a quote from them, but if we get either 200 or 300 pre-orders, we'll have a precise number by then, because we should have quotes from the hardcover companies. If we get 200 or 300 pre-orders, we would instead fulfill with high quality hardcovers.
Okay.
Because essentially, it'll cost 10 or 15 grand to get a hardcover print run, and Nate and I are willing to put in the money for a softcover print run up front ourselves. So the pre-orders would have to bring in the rest of the money, and if that happens, we're willing to operate at a loss for a bit to get you guys a better product.
And also, I think something to mention at this particular point, this is not going to be Kickstarter. This is legit just pre-order. It's not made to order. You're going to manufacture. And, well, I guess pre-orders might be made to order, but this is something that you constantly want to keep in stock. You want to have it available through your website. So there's not going to be a Kickstarter campaign for this. You just show up in April of next year, assuming the deadlines are met, make your pre-order, and off you go.
Exactly. And we'll be doing a kind of pre-order campaign explaining this, and also offering probably a reward, which is namely probably what we will do is we will give a free PDF if we hit our first 100 people. And then assuming it's 200, then if we hit the 200, we do the hardcover. If based on the new quotes we get for this book, we got quotes last year. Based on the new quotes we get, if it's more like 300, we would adjust the thresholds. But essentially we'd go, hey, if we get X number of pre-orders, here you will get this additional thing. Which is essentially a free PDF included with your order, or a hardcover that we would normally be selling for $70 or $80. And this would be if we do that, if we succeed, if we get enough people to pre-order, we're talking the Smithsonian made in the US, and that's not cheap. So
no, it isn't. But it is worth it.
So we are we have 2 or 3 companies that we are looking at, one of whom Black Lodge Games used recently, and so we're kind of waiting to hear how that goes for them. But it sounds like pretty good so far.
Excellent.
Word of mouth is good. And beyond that, let's see. This uses the same core game rules as Horde Wars, in the sense that actions, maneuvers, and character creation function the same way. Whole new careers, 24 new careers focused on the science fiction genre, and in particular, warfighting in the science fiction genre. Yeah, a modern to futuristic warfare. We do also have a few nods to certain franchises without infringing on their intellectual property.
Legally distinct.
Legally distinct nods, which we like their property, and we'd love to. In most cases, in a couple of cases, we're teasing them, but yeah. So anyway, it's operating at two scales. So unlike Horde Wars, where you are focused around just the character scale of combat, and you are playing with your particular character on an adventure, maybe with some mercenaries or hirelings or what have you, and your friends are each playing with their individual characters. This is designed so that you play a character, or you play like who's fighting on a planet's surfaces, trying to reclaim lost worlds from the aliens or possibly conquer alien worlds. Whereas you could also play someone who's in charge of commanding a starship, and in which case you're probably fighting at the starship scale and actually doing space combat. And so we estimate that about 1/3 of all of the role-playing and fighting elements should be and strategic elements should be at the starship scale, and about 2/3 at the actual character scale. And so a typical game, now obviously we're going to include a setting with specific places that you can go and do things, and like particular targets you could try to take out, but we are including a random generator for missions. And essentially what a mission would typically look like is humanity has been driven back. We only hold like half a dozen worlds now, but we had at one point held 100, and then the aliens noticed we existed, and we are getting attacked from 6 different directions, essentially in space. One group coming from above, one from below, and one from every side, and they are snatching up as many human worlds as they can and fighting each other in the process.
That sounds like a mess.
Yeah. So initially it is, we're trying to reclaim human worlds that have fallen to aliens, and hopefully there are human survivors and we can maybe secure them again and then push out from there. And so you're rolling random missions to go, all right, what kind of world is this in this location? What kind of star is it? Are there any dangers or advantages in the system? Like, is there like a dark matter asteroid field that's invisible to sensors, but we know about because it used to be our system? That could be handy. You could hide behind that. Or maybe there is a big debris field that you can hide amongst. Or maybe there is, maybe it's a star that pulses out radiation and kills things close to it. And so you would know the aliens probably wouldn't hang out near it. And so you could kind of slip in the system near the star, assuming you've got radiation shielding. And at least good radiation shielding, and so on. So the idea is, you go, all right, we're going to get into this system, and we're going to try to infiltrate and get into and drop off our team of Marines to reclaim this world, reconquer this star base, or potentially like extract a scientist or support a resistance movement, or do all kinds of other missions. We have, I think it's 25 mission types for the character scale random generator. And then we are working on having another 25 for the starship scale, where the starships are trying to achieve strategic goals.
Wow, that's really robust. I would say that's, I mean, in my experience, that's atypical. Maybe I'm just not playing the right kind of game. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions here from chatters. I'm going to call you Wib. Wib says, can we play Alien using dropship?
Wib Stosman, can I rat out your first name just to make it easier on our friend here?
Or Wib Stosman's fine if that's how you say it. I can do that. That's easy. I can do that. I just looking at it the way it's spelled, it's like I'm going to get this wrong. Wib Stosman.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you can play Alien. Yeah. So his name's Brian.
Brian. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, you can play Alien using dropship. We are working on a whole bunch of cool creatures, and our main artist is really excited about making some unique alien monsters. He came up with a trilobite dragon, I think it is, which is just horrifying, in my opinion. He sent us a rough sketch and was like, guys, we should do this. So we're going to figure out a stat block for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that's for an acidic world, actually, like one that's really corrosive and has, think Yellowstone National Park or Venus on Yellowstone National Park on steroids, or a Venetian environment. But this creature is native to these kind of acidic pools and this corrosive area.
Thinking of monsters and a character level versus a starship level, are there any biological creatures that would exist or could be fought at that starship level? Like, would a trilobite dragon be something that could grow to such a size that it would eventually, just sort of fly off planet and exist out in the void of space and have to be taken out by a fleet?
We may include a few. However, in general, the like that kind of creature is planet bound. We've played around a bit with some strange like entities in space, and like some space whales, and like a worm analogous to the one you'll see trying to eat the Millennium Falcon. That kind of thing. We're playing around with a bit of that sort of scale, but I don't think that will be the main focus.
Okay.
And those may not make the cut, because that is a niche within a niche, essentially.
Yeah, it is.
But for certain, we do have an alien faction that uses basically biomechanical ships, and their larger ones actually have a form of regeneration, and so they naturally repair themselves over time.
Cool.
They will not repair blown out systems, but they will repair their hull over time, I should clarify.
Very cool.
Systems will require some kind of active sapient intervention.
Crispy says, cool setting.
Thanks.
And then Mike asks, what do they do with the humans on the worlds that the aliens claim? I imagine this is going to provide a variety of different answers, given there are 6 different species who are,
six major ones. We've also got an extinct one, and one that is essentially, how can I phrase this? Sniping everyone.
Okay.
But so there are a couple more, but of the 6 major factions, when they take over a world, what you're looking at is, one wants to simply enslave us. One wants to exploit us economically. The insectoids simply want to eat us. The Enlari, who are basically our settings grays, want to do terrible experiments to us, and so forth.
Sure.
And so none of them are pleasant. Like, if you had to pick one, there's a couple that would be better to get conquered by, but on the whole, humanity is not on board with the whole getting conquered plan.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, going sort of back up to the spaceship, whatever you want to call it, that level. This is a question that I generally ask of a science fiction game where space travel is a norm.
Yeah.
And there are a wide variety of answers. Do you approach or deal with in any way, shape, manner, or form time dilation with regard to faster than light travel? Do you use faster than light travel? The answer can be as quick and simple as a no. Nope, we don't do that. But it can also be, a little bit more complicated. So just for my edification.
Time dilation would be something that if the game master wants to deal with, they're welcome to. However, that is not a level of granularity that I think most game masters will enjoy.
Gotcha.
That said, yes, we do have a form of FTL. It is not, however, actually very fast.
Okay.
It is taking you typically, it is fast compared to, say,
a bus.
Yeah, us, or even the speed of light, but only a bit. So you're talking a month to travel parsec. Parsec's about 3.5 light years. Now, if you compare that to something like Star Trek or Star Wars, RFTL is much slower,
Mm-hmm.
where you're burning off months of your life every time you travel to another star system. Unless, of course, you happen to be on a ship with cryostasis, and then you might not wake up. Kind of depends on if anyone bothers to wake you up at the end of the journey.
So it seems like it's risk reward, and it's also it's an interesting answer to the question. I like the answer to that question. It might not be, this isn't how it works in the real world, but there's something there. There is some manner of time that you have to contend with when you're traveling these long distances, even if it's just months at a time. I say just, but I'm sure it's not just months at a time to someone who has to do this on a regular basis.
Well, right, because you got to do it there and back.
Right.
And then the in-system travel tends to be limited to something like 1 to maybe 6 at the outside, probably 1 to 5 astronomical units a day. So no, they're not teleporting.
How you doing?
Yeah, hey man. So if you were to say try to arrive far out in the system to avoid enemy sensors picking you up, and like have your ship go dark and try slipping in, you could do that, but you're again giving up weeks of your life to do that.
That really sort of is going to affect planning and execution. That's also, exfiltration, right? Like if the alien that you're going up against has a better, propulsion method, they're going to catch up. So you have to account for that in the leaving.
Or if they have better sensors. Like if you think, oh, they probably have normal sensors and go just outside of that range, and really they have good sensors, you're like dead center of their range. You're like, oh, crap.
Didn't think this through all the way.
Yep.
So what if I can switch tracks now? Could we talk about classes a bit? I know that it's likely, or rather it is going to work on that same sort of, I'm going to call it a dual class system, probably not quite accurate.
2 careers.
Okay, 2 career. We'll call it the 2 career system because that's what you told me to call it and you made the game. So we'll call it the 2 career system. It's going to work on a similar premise to that, which is Horde Wars, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and to answer your question, Greg, I was in a traffic accident a couple weeks back, and my wrist is still off, and so I'm doing this for support. That is enough to have it not hurt terribly.
So yes, the answer is yes.
Yes. Still dealing.
Are you doing okay? Are you all right? I don't want to just skip over that.
Yeah. No, I'm okay. But that's the insurance thing has been a mess. I spent a good chunk of the day dealing with that. It's still just a pain in the ass.
I'm very sorry for that.
No, thanks. It's the other person's insurance company just trying to wiggle out of paying anything, really. Yeah. But people are greedy. What do you do?
Yeah, expect it and try to move on.
Yeah.
Unless you're caught in the middle of dealing with it, then I guess you try to deal with it.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I'm largely okay. I had a concussion, so I was a little off for a day or two. But anyway, okay. So the career thing, one of the main changes compared to Horde Wars, it has to do with special materials. So, and this is relating to character creation. So special materials in Horde Wars include like bronze, black iron, silver, to do an extra die of damage against a particular kind of target.
Yeah.
Now, this I think is very good for the fantasy genre, but for the sci-fi genre isn't quite right. Special materials for like each kind of alien would be really weird, or really a lot to track. And special materials just generally for aliens, why? Why does that work? If they're anatomically very different and don't even breathe the same stuff, like why would that work? If some have armored hides and some are like squishy, why is that? So instead, each of the species has a dominant kind of a way they fight. So for one of the aliens, the Freylar, they have the trample trait. And so what they want to do is run at the enemy or kite you, run like around you. And when they do, they will actually gain a bonus die of damage at personal scale combat. Each of the types of human has their own version of this trait. So since this is a war of humans against aliens, we have 5 varieties of human for you to play. This is not intended for you to play aliens. We may offer a supplement at some point, going if you want to just be all Freylar, say, and fight for the Freylar and conquer the stupid humans, go for it. But the intent is actually the opposite, that you're humans fighting against all these aliens because you are a human. Our customers are humans. You really should be on our side. Are the more
I don't want Earth to die. That's where I keep all my stuff.
Yeah. So that's one of the changes. Also, we're in character creation. You're actually determining your character's rank. The assumption is that your character is either in the Marines, in the Space Navy, or the IEF Navy, or you're in the Starfighter Corps. Those are the options. We are going to include a couple pages if there's space. We're going to include a 2-page spread going, if you want to use these rules to play civilians in this setting, here's how to do it, including like some trading tables and some other ways to earn money and such. But the core is that you're in the military struggling for humanity's survival, and if you don't do it, humanity will lose.
Yeah, and you know what? Being able to giving that seed of being able to play a civilian in these scenarios, I think I like it, and I think it offers another perspective on this style of game, because if I'm in a military outfit and I'm flying in to wipe out some invading force, some alien invading force, to reclaim the territory for humanity, but let's say there's like pocketed civilians still left on the surface of the planet, and they can organize and they can help me, and we can play them. That's a really cool dynamic that you have going there. I really like that you're including that in the rules set.
Yeah. And so obviously there's more of an emphasis on ranged combat, as Mike asks. We do have, I think I showed you some of the firearms.
You did, yes.
Yeah, so I think there's
and you also showed me, before we progress to firearms, and I'm so sorry for interrupting you, but I want to comment on, because I also saw the different types of humans that you can play. You were gracious in allowing me to see that. I have a particular interest in hard sci-fi, and I love The Expanse, and I love the idea of people going and living in an asteroid belt and having the low gravity environment affect them in different ways. They're taller, their bones are more brittle. Like when they get to Earth, the gravity is oppressive to them. I really enjoy this sort of the adaptation of human physiology to a different environment. You would be completely different under if we lived underwater as if we did in space. And so I think that this is a very, very interesting inclusion, because it's a hard sci-fi element, the way that the different peoples have evolved on the planets that they were exposed to, versus also all of the faster than light travel and the 6 main alien races. I really, really enjoy this. It's very hybridized. That, including aliens doesn't necessarily mean it's not hard sci-fi, but a lot of the times it doesn't. So that's generally what I think when I am confronted with alien races. And so maybe this is just me. It's my perspective, the way I'm thinking about it. But I love that there are these two elements that are kind of just sort of being brought together and joined in the middle. And that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you.
At that time, I just think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, I really like Horde Wars. I think I'm really going to love Dropship. So
I hope so. So it helps my co-author's a physicist. It also helps that when we were preparing to work on this game originally, I actually listened to the entire lecture series of an astronomy course from either Harvard or Yale, and then I did another one as well that they put online for free.
Very cool.
And that helped me get a decent picture of what they're teaching astronomy students now. And the short answer is modern astronomy is good at predicting what you're going to see in the sky. Modern astronomy is very bad when it comes to measuring distances to stars. That is some happy guesswork.
Yeah.
Now is it entirely without merit? No, there's some merit to how they're doing it, but there are things we could do that would be a lot more accurate than what is being done. And if anyone's bored at some point, I can explain to you the 3 major ways that we measure stellar distances. But the short version is anyone who tells you they know the size of the galaxy is lying, unless God told them. That they don't know that. It's unknowable with our current instrumentation. Cool. That'll be fun, Hunter. He was just talking about doing Dragonlance with as an adaptation for Horde Wars. So I did have a display thing if you want to show them.
Oh, yes.
So you'll have to probably make that bigger for them. Let me look at the other screen and see how big that actually is.
I think that's as big as I can make it. You might be able to zoom in on the text.
Let's see if I do this. That's a little better. Okay, so the basic human is just like in Horde Wars, except that instead of getting the natural weapons fighting style, you get to pick all of your fighting styles, and you get this frenzy trait. The reason it's highlighted is it's a playtest note because we renamed it and may shuffle it slightly. But the short version is extra die of damage against the wounded is a normal human trait. Shoot the slow one.
Shoot the slow one.
Yeah. Shoot the one that's already wounded. But otherwise is essentially a human, just like you'd find in Horde Wars. However, when you get to the Belter, that you mentioned, they are reflexes oriented. They have the Tactician trait, the Low G Homeworld, and Trade School, and so they are more technically skilled on average. They are better at moving around in 0 gravity. They're not perfect at it, but they're better at it because they're used to low gravity. And they get bonus damage for setting up advantages in combat. And then if we go down to the Heavy Worlder, he gets bonus damage for running at the enemy. He also is very, very strong and can jump really far because he's used to higher gravity.
Right.
The Void Dweller basically does an extra die of damage if he gets wounded. They get really pissed off if you hurt them, and due to environmental toxins, have developed telepathy. So it basically they are from a single planet. All the others could be from multiple worlds. There is one planet that has that toxin, and so all of the humans who have this trait are from that planet.
Very interesting.
And then the last variety, the Wastelanders, are they have this Seeker abilities. They do an extra die of damage if an enemy has moved to that enemy.
That's so
and
cool.
They have radiation resistance, so they don't die nearly as quickly to radiation. They can actually ignore it to a point, but they do start dying of old age at 26.
That's a tough break.
Yeah,
we were talking about that a little bit before we got started. It's a very tough break, but that's a really very interesting mechanical bonus.
I mean, it can definitely save a character's life, but of course, if you were really in a long-term radioactive environment, there would be some health consequences to you.
Yes.
Even if you survive, there's going to be some unpleasantness. And just to give you guys a picture here, let me see. Can I share this tab instead? I'm not going to be able to make these bigger, but here's some sample artwork that we're working on. And just to talk a little bit about the careers, this one is for a career called the Breacher. His job is to kick in doors and clear rooms. So we got a whole career for that. This one is for a bridge officer. We're going to do a little bit of editing with shrinking this, adding a metal, and centering this a little better, but you get the idea. I'm pretty happy with him overall. Bridge officers commanding starships in battle. That's what they're good at. This one is just a piece of filler art for the computer skill. We had an extra spot there. We're like, all right, let's put some cool artwork there.
It is cool artwork. It all is.
Thanks. This is for this is a half-page piece of artwork. It's for the city of Haven, and if you look, there are the names of a number of the corporations, because this is a essentially corporate-owned planet, dominated by this city. This is one of the heavy worlders. He's also got some implants, as you can probably tell. This one here is a normal human wearing some winter gear, it looks like. Here is one of our land vehicles, the Liberty LMV. If it helps in real life, the Hummer is an LMV.
And there are rules for ground travel in vehicles.
Yeah. Here's a medic, which you're obviously going to need. You're going to probably get shot a lot, unless you are a very skilled team or are maybe all wearing power armor, which is a thing. Got a couple careers oriented around that. We're going to do a little change with this artwork, but overall, this is about done. This is a piece of artwork for our ranger who's good at silent takedowns of opponents. Here is a sniper who is definitely in the wrong camo for the snow. And here is a wastelander, probably at the ripe young age of 30.
Me too. Me too.
He's a little worn
Yeah.
from his life on that planet. But we're getting some artwork in, and we are hoping to have all of that on time. So far, it's going pretty well. If we start getting pressed for time, we'll bring in a third artist. But right now, it's just Simeon and Patrick working on it.
Only 2 artists. Wow. How many artists were on Horde Wars? Was it more than 2?
7.
I mean, I think it was, yeah. Because I remember seeing, I think I read the artist credits in the book.
Yeah.
There's so much artwork in that book.
There were 2 for basic. However, in this case, we actually had, I didn't even show you all the artwork that we have currently. We have another dozen pieces from when we were working on this prior to Horde Wars, actually.
Was this begun before Horde Wars was? Oh
yeah. No, this goes. We started the bones of this game in like 2014. I didn't know it was that long. I actually went through my email and checked.
Wow.
The bones of this game go back to 2014. At the point where we decided to make it a D12 standalone system, that's about 5 or 6 years ago. So
what happened? Why Horde Wars first? Was it a matter of the games are pretty congruent with regard to character level? So is that what the decision was? It was, well, we have all this character level stuff nailed down. We can make a fantasy game.
No.
Okay.
It's the opposite. So we actually got the Starship rules nailed down first.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so what I'm doing is like some tweaking with, like I told you, the numbers are right.
Mm-hmm.
What we were talking before this, but I'm trying to figure out which one plays more fun. That's a different problem than actually designing the mechanics. Like the mechanics are done. It's just which of these do people like more, right?
Okay, yeah.
So no, the Starship stuff was done. I rewrote all of it in the last 3 months to modernize the text a bit, to trim out some stuff to make sure everything was consistent. But we had a working version of the Starship combat half a decade ago. Wow. The problem was character abilities and how those should work. And so I actually originally wrote about half of the character chapter for Horde Wars, the character creation and the careers, 1 week in a week. Well, Nate was out of town, trying to think about character abilities in a different way and in a different genre. And that really helped. And our playtesters, Nate came back, he liked it. We made some monsters, and we ran a playtest game, and our playtesters liked it so much we developed that first.
Wow, that's That's very interesting. And so Horde Wars was almost a trial run for nailing down the character abilities.
Yeah.
And once you got, and I guess exploring the different genre of, fantasy sort of helped you get there. It gave you what you needed in the consideration to, okay, very, very interesting development process. So now we're taking what we've learned.
Yeah.
Not that I'm included. You're taking what you've learned in Horde Wars with regard to the character level abilities and play, and that's been retrofitted or imported wholesale into Dropship.
Correct. And we've also been working
cool.
on another 36 careers or something for a sci-fi, or for a not a sci-fi. This is the sci-fi one for a superhero game, and
superheroes too.
Oh yeah. We've had active play testing going on for that. Superheroes, though, we have a bad title. Heroes of Franklin City's too long, and we gotta have a better title. And the issue with that one is to make a good superhero book. We figure it'll take about 450 pages, and we think it'll cost about $35,000 to bring to market. A lot of that is printing production cost, because at that page count, if you want the book to last any length of time, it really has to be a hardcover. It could be blue bound. It doesn't have to be like the highest end hardcover, but it really kind of needs to be a hardcover, and it would be better if it's Smith sewn. And so there are just minimal production costs for that. Also, in that genre, you really need probably even more artwork.
For sure.
Of the expectations of the customers.
Yep.
So we looked at that and we were like, well, we can either split that in 2 books, or we can work on Dropship first. Because we're not putting out $35,000 right now.
Well, I'm very interested now to see what your take on a superhero game would be. But that can wait.
But the upshot was we actually got to have a bunch of extra development time on firearms rules, because we're also working on the superhero game.
Wow, this is it's like an integrated, interesting, concurrent way of development. You're not just sort of focused on the one game. I mean, you are, but you know that you're using the pieces of this focused development run for other games at some point. That's a very, very smart way to do it, because the work's already done. You do the work once, and then you can import it into whatever the next game is. That's a very, very, very good way to do it.
Thanks. Yeah, we have to do a little tweaking here and there. So, like, genre appropriate things. Like in the medieval genre, stone walls should be really hard to breach. Actually.
Yes.
In a futuristic sci-fi game where there are, plasma weapons come raining down from space, Stonewall's probably not that great. It's probably okay at stopping a bullet. It's not going to really shelter you from orbital bombardment.
No, for sure not.
And so you got to tweak those kinds of rules to fit the genre. And the same is true for like certain kinds of monsters. Like you could totally have, and we probably will include them. We have a specific planet we want them on. We have a type of world that is very hard to find. It's like 0.8% chance of finding. Okay. We have a type of world that is named the way it is because it is completely overrun with zombies.
Oh.
We are of the opinion that there is excellent scientific basis, at least for zombie ants. And
cordyceps.
And so there is no particular reason to believe that it is impossible for that to happen somewhere else to a more sapient species.
Sure.
And so we're like, all right, we should make this a thing. This should be at least possible. And we have a species who has lost their homeworld. And we decided that the reason that they've lost their homeworld is because they had possibly the original outbreak.
Ah.
But they were spaceflight capable. So some of them escaped.
So they've seeded other worlds with this zombie horror.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes. And then as a result, their remaining civilization has essentially become space pirates and scavengers because they've lost their entire industrial base. And so they are robbing the other civilizations for tech and for parts and stuff.
They have to.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And zombie games can be fun.
They can. They can.
For
Now
sure.
your odds of finding it, not high, but you could. And we think that that'll be a lot of fun for the characters who are into that kind of problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a planet made of solid gold. It is the zombie planet.
Yeah.
Very low chance of finding it.
Yes. There are a few other very rare worlds as well. And then we also have something where there's like a 5% chance of finding an artifact world, which is basically a world from a dead civilization that may still have useful technology remaining on it, and frequently still has functioning guardians or security systems or traps protecting these things. And so the players who played this weekend, this last weekend, actually, I think Dundermoose wasn't there for that one. I think he wasn't there for the Sunday game. He was there. We played Dropship twice, once on Saturday, once on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
The Sunday game was a direct sequel, and they actually interacted a little bit with a kind of an artifact situation where basically a dead civilization had an abandoned starbase that a much lower tech civilization had moved into.
Oh, that's very cool.
And the player characters, and this planet was surrounded by this massive ship graveyard from two other factions who were fighting over the system. And the players were fleeing from one of those factions, arrived in the system, and they're like, "Ah, crap, the enemy's here too." And then they like tried to sneak up to this planet. They stole some stuff from some broken ships, sneak up to this planet, and they realize they eventually find out that these relatively primitive aliens who have like modern Earth technology today.
Mm-hmm.
So they're primitive compared to these futuristic humans. They're primitive compared to everybody else. They have not unlocked all of the secrets of the base, but there's basically an automated defense system that has been protecting them. And the humans figure out how to access it because one of them actually speaks the dead language. He can read it. And so unlike the aliens who live there, he can actually read what the panels are telling them. And they go exploring, and they figure out that the defenses are actually a bunch of cloaked sensor arrays surrounded by orbital weapon platforms, and they're just scattered through the system. And so whenever an enemy ship comes in, if it doesn't do the acknowledgement thing, and it doesn't know to do that, the system pegs them as a threat. And as soon as they're close to a set of guns, it'll just blast them out of the sky. And then once they're dead, they'll recloak.
Wow. So no one knows they're there. It's just, I guess you stumble onto a ship graveyard and that's it. You're done.
Right. And so, but the players actually managed to sneak through and didn't set it off. They used the dead ships as cover as they were sneaking up to the planet, got inside the security net, and landed.
And I guess that would be how the low-tech humans got into the base in the first place. I guess they were too low-tech for the system to care.
They were primitive aliens. They're
aliens. Okay.
Yeah. So our idea is that there will be a 5% chance of bumping into a primitive faction instead of, yeah, exactly, like a sci-fi dungeon delve. There's a 5% chance of running into a primitive faction. And the idea is that this will be, and we've done a version of this. I just want to make it more robust. That this will be essentially a 2-page spread. If we have to, we'll push it to 4, but I really want to make it a 2-page spread that includes tables for adding traits. So it'll basically have like 4 stat blocks, and underneath it'll have tables for adding traits to these different aliens. And the base stat block will be using primitive weapons, blowguns, spears, bows and arrows, this kind of thing. But we're going to include a note or a possible role where they've actually got like modern Earth tech, in which case they have firearms. And that was the situation with these guys. They actually basically ran into space simians or space apes with guns who had taken over this abandoned station.
That's very cool. And what was you said this was the direct sequel to the scenario from Saturday.
Yeah.
So may I ask about the scenario that took place on Saturday?
Yeah, so we did kind of an inversion. So normally when you would be playing this game, you would be coming from the still free human territory, the human still control. There is some like infighting. The corporations want to wind up with more power than the Earth government at the end, so there's a little bit of infighting there. But at the moment, everyone just wants to win. They want, or at least not lose. So they're united in that sense. There is some infighting, but normally you'd be heading out on a mission either from Earth's government or possibly a secret mission from a corporation to push out and retake fallen human territory. In this case, because these guys, some of them had never played Horde Wars before Saturday, and some of them had played Horde Wars but hadn't played Dropship, others had, I felt a better like on-roading experience would be, well, after we played a game of Horde Wars, would be to start them on a planet that had just fallen and have the mission be fight your way or sneak your way to a human shuttle, or you can try to take an enemy Corvette that's landed, either one, and get off world. This planet has fallen. You need to get back to human space.
Cool.
So they started at the character scale, so a lot of the rules were familiar. And then, and then they were learning about how the firearms worked and their particular character abilities and stuff. And they managed to eventually get a hold of a shuttle and took off, and the rolls did not go in their favor, and there was an enemy cruiser directly overhead. And they all would have died if they did not have an ace pilot and had some fortunate die rolls, because any one hit, certainly any two, could have killed them. And they were basically dodging, using shields. The characters who weren't controlling the ship were basically doing improvised actions to like buff the ship's defense, scramble the enemy's sensors, boost their own attack capabilities. They did, I think, manage to knock out one of the enemy ship systems. The cruiser, one of its early actions was launching one of its two flights of fighters. It's not a proper carrier; it's a cruiser, but it has up to 8 support craft it can launch.
Sure.
And that included two trios of fighters, one of which it actually launched and was also engaging the shuttle. And they managed to take out those 3 fighters, while not dying. And they jumped to space with jumped to FTL with a severely damaged shuttle. And then the next scenario, because there was this whole like combat and infiltrating the abandoned human base with security systems still on that did not want them there because they weren't supposed to be there either. But after that mission was done, the sequel mission was, all right, we decided not to go straight to human territory, so they wouldn't like pick up coordinates from us. They wouldn't track us. We're going to jump to a random system and then jump home. Well, the random system they jumped to, procedurally generated, actually was one that the guys they were running from were contesting with another alien group.
That's very cool. I like that. So it just happened that way. They just decided to, take a circuitous route, and they ended up here.
Yep. And they rolled on the tables for that.
So can we get into, if you want to talk about it for a bit, can we get into classes specifically and how the dropship classes are differentiated from whatever their Horde Wars analog might be?
Oh, sure.
And I'm sure there are brand new classes as well, or jobs, careers.
Oh, definitely. So the careers, there's 24 of them. In Horde Wars, there's 21, and then in, like I said, in the superhero game, there's like 30, 36, but there's 24 in this. About 7 of them are focused around starship combat, and the remainder are focused mostly around character scale stuff. There is a little bit of a mixture. For example, the Corsair, the space pirate dude, he's good at boarding actions, and he's good at control, and at high level good at controlling certain ship systems or doing targeted strikes to leave the enemy ship crippled but not about to explode.
Mm-hmm.
he is technically skilled in that way, but the rest of the career is that he's just really good with blades. He's gonna board you with his space scimitar.
Yeah, space
Not
knife.
literally. We have got like power swords and stuff, but yeah, he's that's what he wants to do. He is good at personal combat. And so if I click this, let's see here, share here. And I'll just scroll down a sec to the Corsair. So just you can kind of see the difference. Now there are some different skills. There's one.
Are you at a place where I can share? Am I okay to share?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the Corsair. So if you were to compare this to the Blade Master, you see that there is a commonality here with these two abilities. This, however, is very different, as are the base skills, of course. The doubling starships to perform a boarding action. This is clamping on to an unwilling starship target to then attempt to breach their airlock and charge in.
Yeah,
that's what you're trying to do when you do that. And then at higher level, this is highlighted for playtest notes, but basically at higher level, he could pick to go to get this ability, where he's really focusing on his hand-to-hand capabilities.
okay.
Or, and I don't know if you can you read that?
The capstone swashbuckler?
Yeah, the close-in maneuver.
Yeah. Immediately move up your land speed and make a melee weapon attack. In addition, you may take an additional action on each of your turns for the next 1d4 rounds.
Yeah. So it's
and that's once per day.
Attack and then like a personal haste. So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
High level. The other thing he can get, though, is this Marauder capstone. And so this lets him choose not to cause an enemy starship to explode and instead to disable it, even when he reduces it to 0 hit points. And then the point defense expert is he's really good at using this type of ship system, extending out its effective range and basically forcing missiles within a certain fired from beyond that range to miss. So if you want to strongly impact his ship with missiles, you have to actually get much closer to them than you would otherwise.
Which is where he can perform a boarding action. And
yes.
That's excellent. I like that. A lot of synergy there. I quite like that. Now, the capstone abilities, these are all tied into a similar or even identical tier system like we see in Horde Wars. Okay.
Correct. We want to make it really easy for a player from Horde Wars to come over and play dropship. And the same will be true for the superhero game that we're working on. And another example, let me glance what's on the next page. Yeah, okay. Engineer is going to mess with, we're going to probably rename the engineer the mechanic, incidentally. We use the word as a skill name, and also it's the name of a kit, and we don't want to do what D&D did and use level everywhere.
Yep, I agree.
Like to have a little variety in the nomenclature, just for clarity. But I'll zip up here just so you can see like the bridge officer. Let me know what you think of this. This is like a warlord in some ways from Horde Wars. However, it is based around commanding and controlling starships.
Should I be reading this out loud? I should probably be reading this out loud. Okay. Skills: language, starships, and +1 to a skill of your choice. Government contacts. You gain influence as a bonus skill. In addition, double your influence skill on skill checks made to obtain permits, records, and files from non-hostile corporations and governments. On my command, which is a maneuver, an ally of your choice within communications range may immediately make a starship weapon attack. That attack deals an extra die of damage. Redeploy, which is a starship action, which is once per day per tier. Up to 4 allied starships within communication range may each move up to their speed. Yes, he's a he's a commander. He will
Yeah.
he orders the ships around on the it has a very, very archetypal feel to it. He is the nexus through which all battlefield decisions are made. It has that feel to it.
Yeah. And then the idea is at higher level, you get these options.
Right. Capstone Command, broadside, immediately taking that one. I don't even care what the words that come after that are. Broadside, a starship action once per day per tier. Make a starship weapon attack with each of your starship's weapons. These attacks deal an extra die damage. 100% satisfied with that. That's what I'm going with. And then Capstone Control. Last Stand, which is a maneuver. It's an extra action that you can do once per day. Your starship immediately regains 20 hit points. In addition, you may take an additional starship action on each of your turns for the next 1d4 rounds. This allows you to exceed the maximum number of actions for that starship. Yeah, that's great. I love everything about the way that this particular class feels. This is very, very well realized.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we got 22 more. And so just to give you an idea of what we're working on now. Bacon has looked at a few more of them, but just for you guys watching right now, just to give you a sense of how the careers are organized. Very much like Horde Wars. If you like Horde Wars, you're going to like Dropship, assuming you like the sci-fi genre. If you don't, well, I can't help with that. Gain better taste. But yeah, so and what we would like to have ultimately is about 45. We're at about 35 pages now. We'd like to have about 45. We'd like to have about 45 pages of starship and starbase stat blocks for you to have as the humans or to fight as enemy ships. This will roughly equate to about 100 ship stat blocks. So yeah, and they can
quite a lot.
Yeah, and they can be customized. It'll be a little over 100, I think. But they can be customized. But really, it's modifying the existing stat block. It does not build your starship from scratch. We wrote that system. It was a bad idea. It's not that it doesn't work. It does work. We have designed and played with and play tested a fully functional build your own starship system. However, it takes a lot of page space that would then mean you wouldn't get more stat blocks because there's only so much space in the book.
Right.
And it's not quite appropriate for the genre, for the setting. If humanity is on the verge of losing, you aren't ordering a custom starship.
Sure. Yep. Makes sense to me.
That's that's not what's happening. And so we've included the ability to modify your starship. So a high-level engineer gains the ability to actually add custom modules to the ship. All starships can support one or more modules. There's some rules about that, but loosely speaking, it's one module per ship class. That's about correct. So if you're a class 1 ship, you can usually support one module. Class 2 ship, you can support 2, so on. But the engineer can add an extra one. And this does things like give you shields or deflectors or a point defense system or magnetic grapplers to make your ship better at clamping onto enemy ships. For those boarding actions. It can also push out the range of your starship weapons with advanced superconductors. So you have better materials that your ship is made of to fire further, and so on. A blade of armor and what have you. So having these modules is a good idea to customize your ship. And so when you get like assigned one, or potentially when you capture one, but initially you probably be assigned one, you can modify that over time. And if you acquire a better one or earn a promotion and get assigned a better one or both, you can then again customize that to some degree. It is also possible to switch out starship weapons and stuff. Mostly this needs to be done at a class 3 starbase, or put another way, you have to return to a friendly port to get these kind of modifications done.
Okay. A couple questions, but where to start? How are Starship resources handled specifically with regard to modules? Is it a case where if I'm at a level 3 starbase, I can, for ease of the player, upgrade my module? Or is it something like an EVE Online where this module, you can absolutely buy it, you can absolutely put it on your ship, but it's 4 systems in the opposite direction that we're headed. So, like, do we have to go over here to get, like, how well, I guess, I get that humanity is on the verge of collapse and there's a whole lot of difficulty that I have to contend with. But, like, is there any sort of semblance of mercantilism or anything with that regard?
So let me give you a picture of, see if I can share this. Let me give you a picture of typical player earnings. So unlike Horde Wars, where you're typically dungeon delving, you may well be doing something like dungeon delving occasionally to find.
I'm okay to share this.
Technology. Yeah. You can share that.
I just don't want to share before you're prepared.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But the main mechanism of characters to earn money and statistical bonuses, aside from leveling up, is actually based on their role in the military. So in this case, you've got a whole pay scale based on your rank. And so if you want to buy personal gear, it's based on your pay. Yeah, you could find some on a mission and you could potentially sell it on the black market, sneak it back. If you've got space in your locker, keep it there. But your kind of mainstay is your personal income. And that can get you certain advantages. You can also requisition equipment sometimes, but then you're expected to return it at the end of the mission.
Sure, yeah.
But this is relevant because it helps you understand costs. So a private or in the Marines or a crewman second class in the Navy would earn 1,200 credits a year. And if we jump over to, say, some module prices, have a glance.
Gotcha.
And so it's a cost issue. So you could possibly, if you capture an enemy ship, sell it as a prize and take that money and invest in your ship, right? Buy better modules or buy more missiles or whatever it might be. But also, you can capture modules from enemy ships and steal them and bring them back, either to sell or to have installed in yours.
So, and I guess when I asked that question, I think that I had probably discounted the fact that this is very much a military focused play situation. So, and I have former military experience. They'll get, like, logistically what do you need? We will get it there. We'll just it'll hop in on the next helicopter, whatever. They'll get it to where you are, so that's not necessarily a concern for the military. Now, if you're playing civilians, that could be a concern.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And then you'd be using the requisition rules, which is something in this game, which is essentially trying to, basically, you could use the requisition rules to try to get the government to give you a module without you paying for it, arguing that you need it for this mission.
Yes.
Assuming you have it at all.
Yes.
However, would that be easy? No. That would be a hard thing to pull off. And a few of the modules humans don't have. Any of the modules with an asterisk, which there's one here, cloaking device. There's another one here, the Einstein-Rosen device.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for their insane prices is humans don't own them at all. They must be captured. Or discovered. And so, gravity generator, same deal.
Huh. Very cool.
And so there are, I want to say 25 of those modules, and then there may be a couple more. in the treasure section exclusively. But
Exclusive
they do all
treasure
kinds of
module.
useful things for you.
Request denied. Marines make do.
That will happen.
We did actually touch on alien bioengineered ships, but if you want to go into that a bit more, we can certainly do that.
I mean,
it's for you.
It's pretty straightforward. One of the species does have bioengineered ships, and as a result, some of their larger ships are capable of self-repair. Generally, just of the hull. They won't repair ship systems. That requires a little more intelligent action, but the hull itself will regenerate over time, which is a huge advantage. It makes it you can't do like weakening attacks over the course of several days to then kind of drain them out. That's not going to work against them. You could potentially do that to other opponents. Magic versus psionics.
That's a great question.
That is a good question. So I am going to answer that question in a moment. But before I do, I did want to point out that almost every ship has some form of cargo bay, fighters accepted. They might have a little storage compartment, but almost every ship has some form of cargo bay. And we do also provide ways for you to modify those cargo bays and turn them into luxury cabins, passenger cabins, cell blocks, cryo tubes for if you need to put some people on ice, deep space assembly plants, which are basically, they can actually assemble and deploy star bases. You can actually, if you have a ship with that, take a system, and if you have a star base stored in that ship, deploy it and occupy the system with that star base. Colony ships would be equipped with this, and some of the aliens will do this too. One of the factions is a reptilian faction, and one of their starting ships deploys Class 1 star bases, specifically monitoring stations and orbital weapon platforms over new planets they conquer. So the moment they're in system, like within a matter of days, they've got small star bases in place. And it makes it really annoying to take stuff back from them.
For sure.
But you can also have like additional fuel tanks or expand a launch bay for shuttles or for fighters or this kind of thing. And so the cargo space really matters. You can also use cargo space to haul extra missiles, to haul extra supplies, and to do a variety of other things. Haul modules that you've captured. They take up storage space. And so the cargo space on a ship winds up mattering quite a bit. And I thought I would point that out as it's one of the better ways to customize your ship that doesn't require, other than some downtime, a lot of effort. Because generally in all those cases, you're just changing what the space is used for. None of them are particularly expensive.
Right. Like turning a cargo space into a prison is a matter of just locking the door.
A little more than that. But yeah, you'd want some monitoring equipment and stuff. You know.
Just leave them in there. Feed them once a day, they'll be fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, wait a minute. Where'd they go?
Now, magic versus psionics. So if you mean magic like we mean in Horde Wars, no. No magic. If you mean magic like Jedi, say, or that sort of thing, then yeah, we do have some space magic. But we don't mean that there's a wizard in a pointy hat with his spell book.
No finger wiggling.
No. This is not Spelljammer. So hopefully that's clear enough. And then further, I can give you a couple examples. So we have a career called the Tech Knight, and what that career is a blend of force field projection and technology. So he has some magic light powers in that he can project hard light force fields. But he's actually good at like hacking. He's actually good with computers. He's good at technology. So, and the Tech Knight also typically will bring a melee weapon to a gunfight because he can project hard light force fields and go, yeah, shoot me, see how that goes. And so he's often out there in heavy armor projecting hard light barriers. And at a certain point, he can get powerful enough to not just do a brief protection, but to absorb like an entire explosion, like from a grenade or a rocket launcher. So he could protect everyone from that effect rather than just himself. Or he can make like a large enough bubble that he could like trap something in it for a short period, or protect a larger group. So that's a example of that sort of thing. And I kind of got this idea from a few different sources, including riffs and including a few, I can't even think of the name of it right now. It'll come to me. The sci-fi video game series with Commander Shepard as the main character.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect. Got the idea also from Mass Effect. Just couldn't think of the name. And a couple other sources. But the Tech Knight idea, I think, is really fun. Another example of this sort of thing that you're asking about is the Scion. Now, that's SCION, not PS, SC. And this one is a space wizard, but not in the I have a spellbook sense. What I mean is that he can do remote manipulation of objects. He can actually like levitate stuff and like open doors he's not next to and this kind of thing. He can actually deflect an incoming attack. It's not a hard light barrier. He's just basically doing just a slight knock to the side. It's not as effective. It's not really going to stop a grenade from killing him, for example. But he can also do like arc lightning, because that's fun.
Yeah.
And at high level play, he gets
maybe a little finger wiggling, but just a little.
Just a little. At high level, though, he can actually do a mind bending effect where he can change someone else's loyalty for up to a minute to him, to the exclusion of his other loyalties. So he can get one of your party members to switch sides. Or a player character could do this to one of the villains, like henchmen, and get them to switch sides. And obviously, this could permanently stick if the consequences for switching back were bad enough.
Yes.
But then it would be a willing choice.
Yes.
At that point. He also can, at high level, gain the ability to redirect ranged attacks against the attacker. He can actually reflect a bullet back at you, or
that's very cool. This is the more you explain, the more Jedi it feels.
We can't know where these ideas come from.
We can't.
we can't know.
Legally distinct.
Yes. Well, all of these abilities are certainly not named anything like they do in Star
Wars.
No. And they don't function the same way. But you, as a package, you might sense a theme.
Could be some measure of familiarity as a package.
Yeah. And then we have the PsyOps career. And the PsyOps career is more the psionic magic you're talking about. This guy is capable of clairvoyance, some telepathic mind reading to pull information out of an opposing creature. He can do some like remote viewing. He can do essentially a sleep effect, putting multiple opponents unconscious potentially. And I guess his signature ability is the ability to force a reroll. He has to use a maneuver to do it, but he can do it to himself, to an ally, to an enemy within a certain range, and he can essentially potentially negate a critical hit. He could turn a miss into a hit. He basically can force a reroll by burning his maneuver. And the reason is because he's able to see the future and thus manipulate it slightly.
Very, very cool. Now, all of these careers, you have to, I imagine, be the void human in order to utilize.
I mean, this one you certainly should be, but no.
Oh, you don't.
There's no prerequisite, but it would be smart to be the void human for this one because you'd be better.
Sure.
Yeah. Um,
So generally speaking, then there aren't, gosh, I don't even know how to phrase this.
prerequisites.
Yeah, there aren't any like prereqs to build a specific class. Like you
No.
have to have come from this type of world to utilize this sort of class. Okay.
No, there are definitely ones that are a better idea to combine, but that's up to you. You don't have to do that.
I think being a
one
Tech Knight heavy sounds pretty great, but you could probably be a Tech Knight from anywhere.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, for on the features side, that's where the prereqs come in. That's where you have to meet certain conditions to gain a feature.
Okay.
Usually, it is a particular score in an attribute or a training in a specific skill. Occasionally, there's something more narrow, like only a particular career or a particular species or that kind of thing.
Okay. I like that. I am of the opinion that humans are a pretty flexible creature. We're a pretty flexible organism. There are all sorts of examples throughout humanity that would demonstrate that we can pretty much do whatever we put our mind to as long as we train to do that thing. Adaptation is the norm within humanity.
Yeah.
There are cases of infants being born with just a brain stem, and that brain stem developing to a point where they can function normally because they are able to, their bodies were able to adapt to that condition that they were born with. So I am very much in favor of kind of human beings doing whatever the heck they want to do, regardless of.
I'm not familiar with that one. I am familiar with a guy who blew out one of the lobes of his brain and largely recovered.
Yeah. Yep.
That one I know did occur. The other I'm not familiar with.
The other one I am likely getting details wrong, and it was something that was discussed quite a bit when I was in high school in the before times. So
Gotcha.
who knows? Who knows? But I actually recall that story quite vividly because it was ubiquitous at the time that I was going to high school. I was like 10th grade at the time, and it was a big deal.
I will say though, a lot of our ability to adapt appears to be coming from either convenient errors in some cases or technology. One example that I learned when I worked in the medical field, I worked at a blood bank for a while, and one thing that I learned is about sickle cell anemia, and it's fairly common in Africa and even today in African Americans. It is not a good thing to have. Sickle cell anemia is a disease. It sucks. However, it is a disease that largely functionally makes you immune from malaria. And
oh, interesting.
And so sickle cell anemia, even though it's not good for you, is actually a survival advantage in an area where malaria is common. Because malaria is significantly worse for you and quite deadly. And so the upshot is that the sickle cell anemia is still very common in the African and African American population because it was a good thing for a long time.
That's very interesting.
And this is true for pretty much any group of humans. If you look at it carefully, there's usually something that actually isn't all that good that happens to be okay in this situation, or that we found ways to make okay, or that we've made technology to kind of offset that problem. And I think in a futuristic setting, it's appropriate to believe that humans would be like, yeah, this world's going to really suck to live on. So let's try and make technology to facilitate living on it and like adapt our bodies as best we can. Like, really targeted vitamin regimen programs for a higher gravity world. Probably targeted workout programs, even starting when you were really little, to try to help your body build enough muscle mass and bone mass to not just fall over and break bones.
Yeah, for sure.
And the same would be true for a low gravity environment, that we would do our best to train our bodies and the bodies of our children to adapt to that environment if the plan was to live there. And I think, I think that can be quite a lot of fun to to think about and go, okay, how would you do this? And then the radiation thing, I actually just based on some Chernobyl documentaries. It's pretty clear that the wildlife in the area was impacted, but not nearly as much as you'd expect. Or put another way, I suspect that if some humans had chosen to live in that area, cancer would be pretty common. They probably wouldn't live as long, but there would still be humans actually living in that disaster area, close into Chernobyl, because wolves survived, deer, and various other creatures. In fact, that area has to some extent become a bit of a woodland paradise because no humans really want to go there.
Yeah.
With the whole radiation issue and some mutations, but a lot of those mutations aren't visible physically. So it's not like Fallout World with like two-headed cows and stuff.
Right.
Like they look pretty normal, actually, the animals. And I think that's what you would have happen if a similar thing happened at a larger scale that humans inhabited, to a larger scale planet or continent that humans inhabited, that if you just couldn't leave, you're like, yep, this is our home world, or there's no way off for the next 20 years till someone comes and gets us, whatever it might be, then you'd find, that some of us would probably survive. And, if not thrive, would still be around.
Yes, we would adapt in some way, shape, manner, or form.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the thinking with the Wastelander, where it's like, yeah, these guys are actually quite radiation resistant. Of course, they die pretty young. And in a world where you are burning time, in a setting where you're burning your life away constantly as you travel through space, a short lifespan is a significant detriment, because typically between game sessions or during game sessions, you're going to be expending 1 to 8 months of your character's life.
Yeah. No big deal to a space elf, but to a Wastelander, that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Space Leviathans. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Commodities like spice. Not like spice, but we do have drugs, including some combat drugs. One to help you ignore temporarily the effects of permanent injuries, some to restore hit points, others to boost you in other ways in combat, like helping you really shrug off damage or this sort of thing. We definitely, for the superhero one, we have a kind of a cyberpunk-esque city theme for that. And as a result, we lean a bit more heavily into drugs in that, but we do have some of that in this game, in Dropship. And so, yeah, you can totally play someone who is essentially a combat drug addict if you want. Should you? There's some real downsides when those wear off, including that you may be in a coma. Depending on how much you took. I don't know. Does that make sense to you, Bacon? What do you think?
Yeah, it makes sense.
But it is the kind of thing humans would do. I mean, because we did it in wars where we weren't as desperate. Like, the United States and Nazi Germany, just to name two, regularly experimented with drugging their own soldiers to see, well, how will this go? Including, in our case, pilots. And I think in their case as well. And the same true for infantry and so on. So if we would do this, including during peacetime, we would definitely try it in a situation where we're about to lose human independence entirely to a bunch of aliens, some of whom want to eat us. We would be looking for any edge at all in combat.
Got to try something. Yeah, I agree. It makes sense to me within the setting, for sure.
Yeah. So we were talking before we got started a little bit about this kind of fun, and I know you did a whole video about quantifying fun.
I did do a whole video on that, didn't I?
Yeah. So I listened to that, and the specific topic I was asking about here is basically we have a space combat system that works really well, but there are like fiddly bits, and those are not really math based. Those are, does this feel fun? Is this way versus this way more enjoyable? They
Right. Does it
mathematically are,
feel
but
right? Yeah, for sure.
yeah. And one example of this, for those in chat, is so all of the aliens, the sentient alien species, and the humans have these traits to help them do extra damage in certain situations. Like for the normal human, doing an extra damage die to the wounded, right? Or for the more technically oriented belter human, doing an extra die when they have a circumstance bonus in combat, and so on. So the question is, should we include those traits at the starship scale to the starships, where humans would kind of have a mixture based on the 5 varieties of human, and where each of the alien species would have its dominant trait on its starships? Or should the starships simply do an extra die of damage, relatively speaking, and not have those traits? Now, the reason for that, the reason for the question, because mathematically it'll work out about the same. If you're playing the spaceship the right way, you're going to get that extra die anyway if you have the trait. So it's not that you're getting more damage either way. The question is one of mental load. Starships don't behave the same way as player characters, not entirely. Among other things, they have additional movement based on inertia. So there's this other thing you have to track, which is, where is the inertia of my starship going to put me? Not just where did my movement put me. Also, unlike a player character, the starships typically have multiple actions. In many cases, for a player character starship, individual characters are each controlling one of the actions. And so it's a question of, which is the extra tactical element fun enough versus the mental load of, I have to track this other thing also. And I'm not sure, and that's a thing we have to decide in the coming months. And to answer your question, Mike, what is the interaction of character skills to starship combat? It is exactly equal. So the player character, the active player character, uses their skills for their starship. Now, in some cases, the starship will boost a specific skill or a specific use of that skill more often. An example of this would be a ship with like really good sensors might give you a bonus when you are sweeping for enemy starships. And so then you'd be adding your skill plus the starship's bonus, because part of it is the starship having good gear and giving you its bonus, and part of it is your ability to interpret the data. You could have all the data in the world, and if no one's interpreting it, it doesn't matter. Certainly, if no one's interpreting it efficiently. So yeah, it's pretty direct. Your skills matter a lot at the starship scale, and in particular, your starship's skill, which is your ability to pilot and shoot the guns on a starship, and fire the missiles and stuff. The science skill, which you'd typically be using for things like intercepting enemy communications or trying to understand strange phenomena or certain kinds of knowledge roles. Your investigate skill, which would be more scanning. That would be scanning for hidden starships, ones that are trying to run dark and sneak up on you or sneak past you potentially. You'd also want to be good at the stealth skill, because that is the skill being used to run dark and to hide behind cover, and so on. So there are a number of character skills that you would want at the starship scale, and ideally you'd have a specialist at each of them on your ship.
Crew composition.
Yeah,
Matters.
It certainly can. I mean, like I said, the group this past weekend, they would have all died if they did not have that ace pilot. They got unlucky with the die roll, and they basically had 6 rounds of a cruiser just trying to kill them.
Man,
and they probably should have died. That is not how the dice rolls went. Barely.
they pulled it out clutch in the end.
Mm-hmm. They also burned through, I think, every single repair kit that they had. They were frantically patching that shuttle as they were getting blasted. And I was teasing them about using their duct tape and 2-part epoxy to fill the holes.
So, with regard to crew composition,
yeah,
do you do hirelings at all? Because I know you can have hirelings in Horde Wars. Is there the possibility of hiring a pilot or hiring someone who's good with some like the starship abilities or any of that, or no, because the setting sort of dictates that humanity on the verge of annihilation, maybe hirelings aren't necessarily thematically appropriate, or I don't know, maybe they are.
So you'd be part of a larger unit, which would include NPCs, or a larger command structure, which would include NPCs. So you may very well have NPCs accompanying you on a given mission, especially if you're a smaller player group. And so if the starship's able to autopilot or perform tasks independently, so each starship does have listed skill modifiers, and that is to represent the, how can I phrase this? The crappiest crew that would be assigned that ship. And so if a ship was capable of autonomous action, it would use those modifiers as well. Because the reality is, you do not want, with our technology today, and probably with any possible technology, it is a bad idea to give control of a very dangerous military device like a warship to a computer program. Certainly anything other than maybe some minor autopiloting stuff. If it can, for example, fire the warheads, what exactly stops any one of those if it goes haywire from nuking Earth? You don't. That is not something that the human government's on board with. There may or may not be a civilization that experimented with this and had it backfire. Who can know? But there certainly are a lot of sci-fi examples of this, and so we are assuming, since these are humans from like real Earth in the future, that they have learned from at least our stories. Stories like Terminator 2. Or Battlestar Galactica, for that matter.
And also, even beyond the stories, there's a certain pragmatism to saying we are beset on 6 sides by these, alien races that want to destroy us utterly for whatever reason. Let's not accidentally be the authors of our own destruction. It's just one more potential fail point that I think that, again, pragmatically makes the most sense to just completely avoid.
Yeah. Plus, you would run the risk of an enemy. Let's assume you completely isolated it from outside hacking or other interference somehow. Let's say you did. That still doesn't prevent an alien from boarding the craft, getting physical access to that computer, and messing with it. Yeah, autonomous warships are a dangerous idea. Now, there is an alien species that is using autonomous warships, but not the command ships. The big ships, no. They're using drones.
Okay.
They're using drone fighters to basically preserve their pilot core back on the stronger ship. But even then, those aren't truly autonomous. They're being controlled remotely.
Right. Well, very interesting stuff. I'm super excited for the game to come out. I'm super excited to learn more details as the pre-order window approaches. And you said April of next year, assuming deadlines are made.
Yeah. That's the plan. And we what I wanted to do today, but we got a little off track doing some other stuff, and that's fine. What I wanted to do
Well, it just
today,
gives you a reason to come back again. So I'm okay with that.
was actually that's fine. Is do a little bit of a design thing, because I'm actually, so I've got, like I said, most of the Starship stat blocks are essentially done, other than the missile thing we were talking about and the do we include this trait or not thing. But I want to build a set of about 4 pages of Forerunner, which isn't the extinct alien civilization, star bases and starships, and think about through those themes. So if in the next few weeks, because this needs to get done soon to keep us on track.
Yeah.
If in the next few weeks that's something you'd be interested in, I would love to sit down with you, do like a live stream, and go, hey, we're gonna build a Forerunner ship or two today, and here's the like base statistics. What do you think this ship should have? Why would this civilization have this ship exist? What did they intend it to do?
I am very interested in that. So we can probably we can talk about scheduling as soon as we end the stream here. So I'm very, very excited to do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. I have done something like this before on Big Geek Emporium stream a few years ago. We made a couple dragons. Now the ones we made it in the book in a modified form, because we then play tested them, and there were a couple things that needed to be changed or clarified. But the core idea of what we did on that stream actually got in the book.
Awesome.
And so there is a whole page of content that we actually created in a live stream.
Yeah, I'm very excited to do that with whatever you want to design. So like I said, we can start talking about scheduling as soon as we hang up, whenever that is. Because I know you had 2 hours, I think you said, so we have about 20-ish minutes, give or take.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so that I think would be a lot of fun. And if I'm a little further along and I'm working on like NPC stat blocks or monsters, that would also be fine. The monsters are less easy to present because they're all going to be a lot more unique, which isn't to say we won't have like a grouping, like a group of zombies or a group of like robots or androids or something, where there might be a few stat blocks, but a lot of them beyond those kind of categories are going to be very different. Like androids are not going to be like the trilobite dragon. Those are not going to be comparable stat blocks,
right?
And so whereas the starships are like, they're using kind of the same chassis. Like when someone says an advanced fighter, they mean a particular base set of statistics versus an assault shuttle versus a support shuttle versus a corvette or a frigate or a destroyer or one of many flavors of cruiser, or whatever it might be. That has a certain element that is inherently true across all the species, so that when a human is describing, we saw an enemy light cruiser, that means something in the game world. Now, that may not be how the enemies name their ships, but that doesn't matter. You're humans. That's what you call them.
Yes.
And so those that kind of thing, or the NPCs, again, because they have certain core statistics that are true, because they can use the same kind of weapons and technology to some degree, have enough commonalities that I think those will be the easiest to like present and go, hey, let's build a spaceship, or hey, let's build these dudes, because the parameters are narrow enough to do in that amount of time, I think. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like when I did that with those guys, it was, let's make some dragons.
Yeah, let's make dragons.
Like
let's make starships. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's do it. Let's make some starships.
That would be, yeah. Now we're not doing. I should note that we are not doing any time travel stuff, but we do have an item that does fold space to a limited degree and allows, if you can find or capture one or something, allows instantaneous transportation I think once or twice per day, of up to 2 astronomical units. It might not sound like a lot, but that's the difference from being about to die to enemy ships to being somewhere between, 6 to 24 hours away.
Yeah.
That's a big jump in terms of not dying, or
Yeah.
for that matter, projecting force. Going, hey, we used the enemy's this foreign system's star to brake, and we used gravity braking, so we wouldn't burn through as much fuel. And as soon as we were done gravity braking around this star, we jump next to your planet and start shooting it. I mean, that's actually really powerful.
Yeah.
And in fact, anyone sent to intercept you would be caught away from the target that you're about to hit.
Yeah, that's a particularly vicious tactic.
So we do have some like really powerful technology like that. We do intend to have a few naturally occurring wormholes as well, to add a little bit of interesting tactical elements, but also exploration possibilities, where you could wind up with an empire that isn't contiguous in the traditional sense, is relying on this choke point, which is
Sure.
And if you were to take one or both systems where that wormhole is, you'd split the empire.
That's neat.
That sort of thing. And then we've thrown a couple of other fun or goofy things in there as well. For example, driving your ship into a star is a stupid idea. Don't do that. You will probably die. Some of them, in fact, just say that. You die. There is no check. Some of them are not as damaging and will just hurt your ship really badly, repeatedly, every round it's in there. But like a neutron star or something, no, you're dead. That was a dumb idea. With black holes, though, we did something fun, and I think that was fun in playtesting. So black holes, 75% of the time, if you drive into a black hole, you're dead. But 25% of the time, you pop out of another black hole in a different galaxy. And I had a play group who was about to die. They knew they were going to lose in a system with a black hole, deliberately drive their ship into one.
Just to see. I mean, if you're going to die anyway, this is a 25% chance that you don't die. Yep. So I get it.
Yep.
Did they die?
They made the roll.
Oh.
And so then they were in a whole other galaxy and were playing Lost in Space.
Wow, very cool.
So we wanted to have a little bit of fun interaction with the terrain. There's a few different kinds of nebulas and other things like this to give you cool stuff to do in space, or interesting and unique things that could happen even if they're unlikely. Now I don't know what you think of that, but I certainly had fun with it when the players.
No, I like the idea quite well. Yeah, I like the idea quite well. I'm excited to play. I regret not having been able to make it over the past weekend, but I will get out there at some point, I'm sure.
I'm hoping
that it is a standing invitation.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to just insinuate myself. But, okay.
In the near future, like sometime probably November-ish. I'd like to get some guys together in game again, and I think Nate and I are more busy up to October and then kind of December, January on. But I think we have a little time in late October or November.
Just let me know. I will do my best. In fact, now that I know it's going to be late October or November, I can just plan on it and just figure it out from there. If you give me the go, awesome, I'll be ready. If you don't, okay, no big deal.
I hope we can do that. I think that'd be really cool. And for those of you who are watching, yes, we do want to game with you. Nate and I plan to be in Washington D.C. in Labor Day weekend. We are currently working on finishing getting signed up for page 3. Nate's profile is set up. Mine still is in the process, and we should be sharing a booth with Pulp Hummock there, Pulp Hummock Press. We are, so that's in like the second week of January, maybe the third week of January. Trying to remember where else we're set up to go. There's some private events that we want to do as well, and we'd like to hit as many conventions as possible next year. So if you have a local convention that you're like, you guys should come, there's like 500 people, 300 people, a couple thousand, and we'd love to, and like they want to play RPGs, please let us know. Reach out on Twitter, reach out through our email. You can go to our website, blackwallgames.com. It has the email listed right on there that you can contact us through. And if you have any interest in playing Dropship, you should definitely if you haven't, you should pick up a copy of Horde Wars, because you're going to learn to play the core game. That core 10 or 11 pages and how the game functions is the same as for Dropship. You're going to be able to know, is this the kind of game that I want to play? Now, it's fantasy genre, but the building a character, the action economy, even just like, how is my encumbrance calculated and does it matter? Those are answered.
It matters. Yes, it matters.
Yeah.
It's in the book, then it matters.
It is. But I mean, that's because survival in like a Dark Ages to Middle Ages Europe is hard and should be difficult. And partly because in a military campaign, if you're cut off from support, that matters a lot. Do you have food? Do you have water? Are you starving to death? Do you have medical supplies? Are you getting exposed to strange diseases? Did one of you get an alien parasite in your brain? What? Yeah, it really does matter what supplies you have in those situations.
Yep.
And one other thing. There's a reason that we have a chaplain. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but we did scroll past it briefly. The chaplain is there both because there are really military chaplains and stuff. He can kind of act in a supporting role, buffing his allies, but also because one of the alien factions is basically led by space demons. We're not going to call them that. They have a particular name. They're called the Sarlaccs, but in common parlance, basically space demons. And the chaplain is uniquely qualified to help deal with some of the problems that those beings can create should you run into them. And yes, the alien parasite wasn't me just saying it. We are planning to include that in the book. We have been play testing one or two of them. And so as a result, though, you can get a bit of a Warhammer feel, or for those who aren't familiar, Starship Andromeda feel, in terms of like if you've watched that show, who the Magog are answering to. You can get that kind of villain. And one of the cool things about that particular kind of villain is because of their sort of supernatural nature, they're capable of communicating with each other across interstellar distances in a way that the humans cannot. And so if one of them reaches a star system, he can basically communicate live with the others, giving that particular alien faction a massive advantage in terms of command and control.
Very cool. Very interesting.
Economics or intergalactic trade. There is a little, but the economics are human focused, which means all the alien stuff more expensive because the aliens are not selling it to us. We're stealing it. There are exceptions. Occasionally, some of those pirate dudes may offer a smuggling deal and sell you some secondhand alien weapons. But in general, the humans are stuck with their own supplies because they are in an active war with these other factions. But part of the civilian stuff that we were talking about, including in the separate 2 to 4 page spread, would include a bit of that, more of that economic trade stuff, because it would matter a lot more for you as the private adventurer in this dangerous environment.
So BGD mentions Crit. Crit is community-run infinite tabletop. Uh, it's an online convention, but they have lofty aspirations to sort of splinter from there and sort of they want grassroots movements to sort of crop up in different areas. He's far better at explaining it than I am, and I actually had him on right before Crit took place this year to sort of go through that explanation.
Yeah.
He'd like to see games like Dropship debut at Crit, which is a consolidated online convention at the moment where a whole bunch of games get scheduled and then attendees get to pick the games that they want to register for and go from there. I was able to play in a Battletech game and several. I think we were doing ICRPG. It was Index Card RPG. I think there was a little Easy D6 that was going on there. There was some Shadow Dark that was going. Like, it was a whole bunch of different games. It's usually run through the Runehammer Discord. I don't know if that's going to continue moving forward. They may get their own thing. I don't know. But is that something that you'd be interested in running a game or two?
I mean, that could be fun. I mean, as much as possible, though. Now, I to be clear, I run something like 100 online games a year, maybe.
Whoa,
in addition
okay.
to probably about 150 in person, maybe a little more. So I'm not opposed, strictly speaking, to online play. I do it. I run games for people, for customers typically, or for people who want to try out Horde Wars. Sometimes I'll play in them as well. But in general, I would like to encourage people to play in person with their friends, and if they don't have friends, to make friends. Which is why I was connecting you with Dom. If you guys
Sure.
are able to meet up, or inviting you to come and play with me. I mean, we're not the closest, but we're about 4 hours away from each other, roughly.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah, and depends on the speed limit and your adherence.
I usually set my I'll set my cruise control to the speed limit and just let it go. Otherwise, I will get a ticket.
Yeah. So, but my point is, we do want a game with you, and if we get the chance, in general, to set something up, if you've got a group of, this might sound like a lot for the introverts out there, but if you've got a group of 10, 20 friends and acquaintances, and you want to get together and schedule a gaming weekend, if we can make the timing and transportation work, we'd love to come and game with you. Obviously, we're going to want to sell you some books, but that's something that we very much want to encourage. And it's been really cool meeting people and talking with people who are actively starting to play Horde Wars in person with their friends. We also do have an online gaming community, and I'm happy to come and try out running some games for Crit. I think that would be fun. Though I'm not on the Runehammer Discord, so you guys would have to reach out in some manner.
I think that'd be pretty easy. I mean, Chris and I, BGD and I are friends, so I could just reach out for him.
Yeah.
In touch with one another.
But if I did that, I would almost want to do it and time it in such a way that at least one or two of those games were also physically happening.
That could be a really neat idea to try and arrange and execute on. That would be very, very interesting. But I'm happy to put you two in touch when we're closer to Crit next year, or what I don't even know. I don't even know what the plan is for Crit moving forward. I don't know if maybe they're going to do sort of off-season things, or if physical gatherings are going to be a part of it. But I'm happy to put you two in touch, so I can certainly connect you two, and then you guys can just go from there.
Yeah, sounds great, man. Let me quick check what. Okay, that is not important. I had a YouTube thing pop up. I'm like, are we getting comments I'm missing? That would be awkward, but that'll happen sometimes.
Yeah, it happens.
Especially with when I stream with Patty. That man does not read stream for like the comments for half an hour, and then suddenly he'll be like,
All of the comments, yeah.
All the comments.
Yeah.
Which is exciting for me, not so much as a guest, but when I'm like commenting, I'm kind of waiting for the moment when he realizes there's a stack of comments.
Yep. I try to get to them as, sprinkled throughout as I can. I've done streams where I've waited till the end, and it becomes very difficult to manage. So trying to just kind of approach them as the questions come in, because typically they're coming in while we're discussing a topic that they're interested in, that they're asking a question on. It flows better that way. So I'm with you there. But it looks like we are at the end of the comments. There haven't been any more questions. We are 4 minutes off from the 2-hour mark. Hey, Mike, thanks for sticking around. Appreciate it. We're about to end up. We're going to wrap up here anyway. So thank you for staying for the whole thing. Thank you, everyone in chat. I appreciate the attendance. Thank you so much, Todd, DM Blackwall, for your time. Thank you for all of the information. Thanks for talking about dropship, and thanks for coming on previously talking about Horde Wars. I'm super excited to continue to follow the game, and I can't wait to get that design stream organized. So we'll do that in the near future whenever you have the time to do that. I'm happy to get you on. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Todd. Is there anything you want to add before we cut?
Not too much, other than I guess I wanted to thank everyone also for coming and checking this out. And then also I am planning to talk with some of the guys who did make it this last weekend in like half an hour or so on Thunder Moose's stream. So if you want to come and check that out, please do. I'm sure he'd be happy to see new and exciting faces.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll hop over.
Yeah. And,
right,
and
cool.
man, if we can get it so you guys can game together, I think that'd be really cool. Also, he is he's definitely a tactical player. So and is getting a bit of a reputation as a what's the word I'm looking for here? If he's in a game where you guys don't have the same goals, you might die.
All right, that sounds very interesting. I usually come to most tables thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna die. So we'll see. That would be a very, very interesting way to play. I would quite like to do that, I think. So but yeah, if you're gonna be over on his channel in about a half hour, I'll show up. I'll be there. We'll hang out. All right. Thank you again. And thank you everyone in chat. And I will talk to you all in the next one. And DM Blackwall will be back. So thank you so much.
Cool.
Now you can look at my dumb face.